This is a kind of translation which attempts to get at the meaning of the word, but it's not a literal translation. So it's not a very good translation, The word yoni means the womb. It also means the source. It also means the starting point. So when you say yoniso, it means down to the womb or down to the starting point, or maybe up to the starting point, up to the source, okay? So when you say Manasikara means consideration. So when you say Yonisomanasikara, it means you are able to consider the problem right up to the very source, the starting point of the problem. Now to be able to consider the problem up to the starting point, it consists of many, many steps, right? So unless your mind is very strong, you start thinking of this problem, you consider, say for example, there are 10 steps. You think 3 steps, after that your mind is sidetracked. You start thinking of your home, your wife said something to you this morning. Then you start to come back, your mind is not strong, it cannot lead you right up to the source of the problem. As a person with strong samadhi, because his concentration is very good, when he thinks of a problem, he can follow the line of argument or the steps up to the very source. Then he can understand the problem. That's why Yonisomanasikara, you cannot have it unless you have a composed mind, a certain amount of samadhi. In fact, it's the same with Sati. Sati is defined in about 8 suttas. There are 8 suttas that define Sati in long words, And it actually means being able to remember what you said and you did a long time ago. That is the real definition of Sati. So people translate it as mindfulness. As I said in my earlier talk, if by mindfulness you mean being able to remember, that is perfectly correct. But if you think that mindfulness means when the form comes, I must know what it is. When the sound comes, I have to observe the sound, know the sound. When the smell comes, taste, touch and all these things, that is not mindfulness, Mindfulness, in this case of Sati, a better translation is actually recollectedness, or composure, a composed mind, a recollected mind. Recollected means, recollectedness means you are able to recollect. That is precisely the meaning of Sati, you are able to recollect. So, in one of the suttas, somebody asked the Buddha, why is it I cannot remember some of the chants? I practiced many times, I learned so long, I still cannot remember it. And the Buddha said the reason is because of the 5 hindrances. When you have 5 hindrances, you cannot remember things. So, it's only when you get rid of the 5 hindrances, you can remember. Then you will understand. Actually, to have Sati, to be able to remember, you have to get rid of the hindrances. If you don't get rid of the hindrances, you don't have Sati. So sometimes these translations, we take the translation to be correct. It might not be correct. That's why actually to really understand the Buddha's words, you have to learn some Pali, and then check the translation. Is it correct or not correct? This Sati is a quality, Sati is a quality. The quality of being able to remember. And as I mentioned just now, you can only remember well if your 5 hindrances are abandoned. In other words, Sati is an indication of some level of concentration. So as I said just now, when your mind is concentrated, then you are automatically mindful. If you don't have that concentration, you try to be mindful, you cannot be mindful all the time. You are only trying to be mindful. But you cannot do it away with mindfulness also. Before you have that concentration, you need that mindfulness, that practice of mindfulness, that persistent practice of mindfulness that will eventually develop into concentration. You see? If you continue being mindful, it must develop into concentration. And that concentration in turn will support your mindfulness. So you cannot separate these two. Mindfulness and concentration, they support each other. I just explained just now, the purpose of being able to recollect is to have that strength of mind. This, as I said just now, Sati is a quality, If you want to recollect, you can. The Buddha never asked us to recollect all the bad experience. The Buddha said, in the practice of Sati, only 4 things you must be mindful of. Only 4 things, The body, the feelings, the mind, and the Buddha's teaching, the Dhamma. Only 4 things. Don't be mindful of any other thing. If you run away from these 4 things, the Buddha said, you are going into Mara's ground. Mara can catch you. So it's only these 4 things. That's why even these 4 things, the Buddha never said to practice all these 4 things at once. The Buddha said practice 1 at a time. And when you practice 1, if you practice it correctly, it must give you one-pointedness of mind. Because one-pointedness of mind will make you see things as they really are. So Samatha and Vipassana, they are related. They just like mindfulness and concentration, they support each other. The Buddha said, when you contemplate on these 4 things, it is not thinking about these 4 things. But when you don't have concentration, this is what you tend to do. You tend to think about these 4 things. So initially, it might be okay. But that is not high wisdom, Because the Buddha said if we use our thinking mind, that is a lower kind of wisdom. What the Buddha was trying to tell us was to cultivate the higher mind. And the higher mind is to develop the jhana, so that your mind is lifted to a higher level. And when you contemplate on something, you understand something sort of intuitively. Straight away you know. It's just like the Buddha, they want to know something, they don't go and think about it. And the Arahants want to know something, they just incline their mind to something, straight away they know. That is not thinking, that is intuitive wisdom. So that is the purpose of meditation, to bring our mind to a higher level, so that when we contemplate something, we can really perceive it in depth. If we start thinking, it's just the shallow part. In fact, if we meditate, if we practice meditation and your concentration grows, you will get the feeling that you are going inside your mind. You are going deeper and deeper inside your mind. And our mind is like is something hard, and something hard, say like ice. If you try to get inside the ice, you cannot. Right? You have to cultivate your mind until it becomes softer. When it becomes softer, then you can penetrate deeper and deeper. And if you can penetrate deeper, it means you are opening up your mind. And depending on how much you open up your mind, that is the depth of level of wisdom you will get. If say the mind can be opened up so much, say 10 feet, just for example, the mind can be opened up 10 feet. If you just open up your mind half a foot, then when you contemplate something, your understanding is so shallow. Just half a foot. But if you can open your mind, say 5 feet, then when you contemplate something, your understanding goes deeper. It's more profound.